Welcome, everybody, to the fourth episode of the No Huddle podcast. I am the host, Ansh Badani, and today we have some amazing football to talk about here on, for me, it's a Tuesday evening in Chicago, by the way. This is the new setup, what probably will be the setup for a while now. I'm moved in. That's what the delay was for. I'm in Northwestern College, or Northwestern University, and this is my dorm, so hey. This is probably going to be where I'm filming from. This will be home base for a while. And, we had some amazing football to talk about. My goodness. Week 2 was unbelievable. A rough week for me to have all sorts of stuff going on Sunday. So I had to go back and watch all the games. That's why this is coming at you a little late. But, it was great football to watch. And we have a lot to talk about. So settle in, get your chair nice and comfortable. Get your bed comfortable wherever you're staying and watching. Or listening, and yeah, let's get started. So heading into the game, this was the biggest marquee matchup probably for the whole season. Eagles and the Chiefs. Now, this game was kind of a snooze fest. Let's be honest. Not the most entertaining game. Eagles take it 20-17. Jalen Hurts goes for right about 100 yards. Mahomes a little more, 150, 160. But more importantly, 77 yards on the ground. And Patrick Mahomes, by the way. Fun stat I was looking up. He is now on pace for 1,000 rushing yards this season. So until the Chiefs figure out a running game, looks like Patty Mahomes is going to be running back one. My goodness. The Eagles just find a way to get it done. If you look at just the box score for this game, which I did at first before I went ahead and watched it, you get the idea of like, okay, so let's imagine hypothetically that Magic Genie came to Andy Reid and was like, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sign you up for Super Bowl rematch, biggest biggest regular season game you've played in a long time, and you have to win this game to not go to 0-2. You're gonna have the Eagles and Jalen Hurts go for 100 yards passing max. You're gonna have Saquon go under 100 yards, and you're gonna stuff them in the red zone a couple times. We're gonna sign up for it, and you're gonna say yes every time. But guess what? They still find a way, and this is something I've seen talked about in the now larger national media, but when I was watching the game, I had this takeaway of seen the role reversal from last year. What do you mean? What do I mean that? But the Chiefs last year were winning games in magical, fluky ways, I think is the only way I could describe it. They were winning by blocked kicks. They were winning by shanked kicks, doinks. They were winning because of 4th and 26 pass interference calls. They were winning any way, shape, or form that doesn't involve just kicking the crap out of the other team. And now we have seen it through 2 weeks with the Philadelphia Eagles. Because you can say, well, what if CeeDee Lamb doesn't drop the ball? Well, what if Travis Kelce doesn't drop the ball in the end zone? And you're probably looking at an 0-2 for the Philadelphia Eagles. But instead, those two plays do happen. The Eagles find what they do. They control the clock. They make each little mistake feel like a little dagger to the heart. And they just slowly grind down. They win the game. If you are playing the Philadelphia Eagles, you cannot make a single mistake. And the Chiefs made one. The Chiefs made one crucial mistake, and that was as I mentioned before, Travis Kelce, quick pass, goes right. It could have been a little bit of a better pass, but let's be real. Any NFL receiver, that's a great catch. That's an easy catch. Catch it, get into the end zone. Instead, pops off Kelce's hands and goes to Andrew Mukbaka for what should have been a pick six if it wasn't the most absurd tackle by the rookie offensive tackle, Josh Simmons. And from there, the Eagles grind out the clock. They score in that drive. And it was 20-10. Chiefs couldn't really do much. And the Chiefs have sort of... I'm not going to say the Chiefs are dead. I think anyone who is coming out of this game saying, well, they're 0-2, end of the Chiefs, like we've seen it, have not watched Chiefs football. They do not know the sheer devil magic that this team has. But they are now 0-2 for the first time since 2014. The year where the only one time that has happened to Andy Reid. And that was the year they missed the playoffs. They have lost 3 straight. The first time Patrick Mahomes lost 3 straight since, I want to say high school, or I don't think he lost 3 straight in college. That might be a fact check, but first time Mahomes lost 3 straight, at least in the NFL. And they just aren't, Kansas City. They're not the team where it's, you make your quarterback makes a stupid mistake on third down, the crowd's going, oh, or anything like that. And then, it's just like you feel it in your heart of hearts. The game is done. They've lost that, which is really, really odd, especially because this showed that the defense is probably back, right? The defense under Spagnuolo is still good. We can maybe count that Chargers game just an off game for that defense. But there's just something missing, which, maybe it's just been too much. It's been a long time. The Chiefs engine has been humming and running for 7 years. So they've maybe lost enough pieces. For the Kansas City Chiefs to come back to the team that we know and we fear, they have to do a couple things. One, they need that run game back. Holy crap, they cannot run the ball. Isaiah Pacheco, that dream, it was a fun story. He's a 7th-round pick, absolute beast of a running back. But he's clearly not the same since the fibula injury, and I don't think he's going to be. As sad as it is to say, because, while I may hate the Chiefs as a Niners fan, Isaiah Pacheco was one player that I actually enjoyed watching. He ran like a little kid. He ran with so much fun, and it sucks that it seems like he's not longer the same guy. They cannot rely on the ghost of Isaiah Pacheco's past and Kareem Hunt's uncanny ability to get 2 yards to be their only place of running. Like, Patrick Mahomes is the only guy who can run on that freaking team, which is kind of unbelievable. At this point, they should put Josh Simmons in at running back because at least Josh Simmons had some burst. So, number one thing is you need to be able to run the ball. I don't care that Andy Reid doesn't usually love to run the ball. You need a goddamn running back. Because I think they have an offensive line that can hold up a run game. But, yeesh, not right. These running backs are just never going to cut it right now. Second thing, they need to be able to get to the quarterback while rushing 4. This is something that's always been kind of signature of the Chiefs, right? It's their pass rush and Chris Jones and George Karlaftis and that, beefy defensive line. But right now, it just feels like not that those two guys have necessarily gone worse players, but there's kind of no one else. If you make sure Jones is accounted for in Karlaftis, there's not really much the Chiefs are going to do to you. So they need to find a way to be able to get home to the quarterback, or even not even get sacks, just get pressure. Jalen Hurts, my God, he would have freaking hours to sit there at times to get rid of that ball because there's no one ever going to catch him. They need to fix their pass rush. And then, of course, on third down, they need to be able to still, get those situational blitzes with Spagnuolo that he does so well. But right now they're in a place where a Spags blitz isn't going to save them, which it has been for so long, the thing that they could do. Now, while Jalen Hurts was kneeling the ball game out, we had, let's just say, a funny quote from Chris Jones as he says, we don't know what said before. I'll give Chris Jones benefit of the doubt. But he's like, well, you didn't even throw for 100 yards to Jalen Hurts. And, while he didn't, he threw for about 100. Chris Jones was kind of right. Jalen Hurts was literally just said, yeah, but we won the game. Which, if you're Chris Jones, man, I get it. Heat of the moment. It sucks. You lose your Super Bowl rematch and you're 0-2. But what are we doing? What are we doing? That is not a conversation you're going to win. There is no world where you come out of that looking right. And it has sparked up a larger conversation about, is Jalen Hurts, is he not doing enough? To which I think I can't believe that we as football fans have forgotten what was happening last year and 2 years ago with Kansas City. This is the same team. That's why I was baffled when I saw Chris Jones say this, because Patrick Mahomes was out here throwing it for 150, 160 yards, throwing nothing but checkdowns, and winning games, going 15-2 last year. Like, what are we talking about? When Chris Jones says that, I'm like, are we looking at the same team? Have you looked inside of yourself to wonder, oh, well, you didn't throw for 100 yards? Maybe just checkdowns are working. Maybe they work all of the time. And it's one of those things where it's like, the more you get into football, the more of a sad realization you have that just if every team checked the ball down over and over and over again while still being able to throw it deep a little bit, that's probably what they should do. And that's why Kansas City did it for so long. Because guess what? If you just check the ball down a million times, there's not really much anyone can do about it while still being able to guard deep. Like, it was such a ridiculous thing. And yeah, I've seen the passing charts where Jalen Hurts is throwing just nothing but short passes that inside of 6 yards. And as someone who likes exciting football, it sucks. It sucks that probably the best or second best team in the league only checks it down and only runs with Saquon for like 8 yards. And then they get to 3rd and 1 and they push it. It's boring. It's really, really boring football to watch. but it works. It's really effective. And as of right now, Jalen Hurts has no reason to go out there and start chucking it, because why would he? For one, his receivers aren't getting super open. Watching that game, Trent McDuffie, if you didn't know, is a pretty goddamn good corner. So A.J. Brown wasn't doing a whole lot. And Devontae Smith wasn't, he hasn't really been doing his thing for the last 2 weeks. So why would Jalen Hurts chuck it? I don't know, especially with Dallas Goedert out. It's just because checkdowns are working. And I don't want to say this. I am a Niners fan. It is in my best interest to be a Jalen Hurts hater. I have said this. I said this last week on the pod. I've said it multiple times now. But as of right now, this discussion to me is one of those things where maybe it's just like, social media being dumb and not knowing much about football, because it's very true. But it's a frustrating thing to have, like being mad at a quarterback for taking open checkdowns over and over again. That isn't to say Jalen Hurts can't be playing better. He absolutely can. We have seen him play better a couple years ago when they made the Super Bowl for the first time, and he was really slinging that thing and making more plays with his feet and stuff like that. But right now, it is in the best interest of this Eagles team to just be the slow killer, to be the team that just runs the ball over and over again. The one that gets to 3rd and 2, and what do you know? Jalen Hurts sneaks out of the pocket, gets an 8-yard rush, gets down, and you're killing 8 minutes on that drive, and it's so boring and horrendous to watch because it works. I don't know how you stop it. That offensive line's too good. That run game works too well. Even if Saquon Barkley isn't necessarily getting 8 yards a carry, he's getting 4. He's getting a really, really annoying 4 to 4.5, which slowly kills the defense over time. And we saw it did for the Chiefs game. So that's where I have some frustration in that, where, I love the show First Things First. I see Mahomes mound and Jalen Hurts drops. It's like, well, he did what his job was, which was to not turn over the ball. And Patrick Mahomes, even though it wasn't his fault, even though it's really shitty that, the ball pounced off of Travis Kelce's hands for them, it was a turnover, and it was the decisive moment in the game. Instead of the Chiefs getting 7, the Eagles end up going down and getting 7. And that was it, because you can't make a mistake against that Eagles defense. So, Super Bowl rematch overall for I think I saw an article, 33 million people watching the game. I am sorry you had to sit through that. I even had to sit through it, but thankfully I had condensed replays. But so it's a boring game, and especially right now with the Chiefs, with none of their receivers right now, their best path to win is also to be a very boring offense. And the thing is, it's also a boring offense that doesn't work, which is even more boring. So, and then we have one more thing to talk about this Eagles game, and that is the tush push. Tom Brady on the broadcast called it out, and he's like, hey, those Eagles guards, they jump really early. And, you watch it back on the replay, and holy crap, they do. Like, Dickerson, and I think his name is Steele. I can't remember his first name. I'm sorry. But you can see right before the center snaps the ball, both of them just jump out. And it's like one of those things where that's really blatant false start. I don't know how they get away with it. But apparently they have been for at least this game. I don't know if anyone has done stats on like a while, but if I were to guess, if they were doing it in this game, why would they not be doing it in other games? And I don't know and then they, the Eagles, they caught on that they were starting to realize it, so they had to try and adapt, and they ran it one time, a couple other times without the guards moving, and it didn't work as well. So now the tush push is getting a lot of flack as far as how can it be officiated and all this and yada, yada, yada. And it comes back to, I'm sorry to just keep crapping on discussion stuff, but there's also another discussion I'm kind of tired of, which is this goddamn stupid tush push. I'm going to say 2 points. 1 point that Eagles fans will really love, and 1 point that they will hate. Let's get the one that they will hate first. The tush push is a stupid play that should not exist. No way around it. The tush push is completely unfair, not because of whatever injury reason that the Packers were citing when they were trying to get the play overturned 2 years ago, or not 2 years ago, in the offseason. Not because, it gives them... It's unfair because the defense isn't allowed to do what the offense is in that case. The defense isn't allowed to take one of their defensive linemen and shove him forward. You can't take Chris Jones, can have 2 guys put his hands on his ass and shove him. It's against the rules, right? Because, obviously it is. Imagine if you could start shoving defensive tackles and giving them a speed boost on the inside. It'd be admittedly really fun, but it'd be completely unfair. But the fact that the offense can do it, and the fact that you can shove Jalen Hurts over that line is unfair. The only way to make it fair would then to give the defense the same power, which is stupid and will never happen. That's the point that Eagles fans will hate. And I don't understand why this play didn't get banned 2 years ago when the Eagles first started running it, because it was so clearly wrong, and it was a clear loophole that the Eagles found. But you know what? Whatever. That's why when they got their Super Bowl, I'm like, okay, we can ban it. They found their loophole. Good for them. They got a ring out of it. Now we can move off. But they don't. So we're still here. The second point, and this is the point that I said the Eagles fans will like a lot more, is that the outrage over it is still stupid. Because it is a play that fundamentally gains 1 yard. And to see Chiefs fans go on like the Twitter spaces, which NFL Twitter, my goodness. It's like, well, look at this false start. Well, we were cheated out of it. The game was rigged. It's ultimately a play that gives you 1 yard. It is in the NFL, getting 1 yard isn't like the hardest thing. I'm sorry for not finding a better word to phrase it. And well, you'd be like, well, NFL game of inches, all this, yada, yada, But do you want to know the best way to gain 1 yard in the NFL is since, let's say, 2017? It's not the tush push. It was a Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback sneak with the 49ers. That play has a better percentage, whatever rate of getting the first down than the tush push does. Even with whatever variation of the tush push, the variation where they cheat and jump in front, or the version they don't. Like a Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback sneak was still more efficient than the tush push. And you know what else was really efficient? As an Niners fan, I know this. Christian McCaffrey just running behind Trent Williams was like the best way to gain a yard when the Niners made Super Bowl 2 years ago. And to see people try and discredit, all of the Eagles stuff and discredit their, at least for this game, and talk about how they're winning off of just a stupid cheating play is stupid. Because gaining 1 yard, that's not even the best way to gain a yard that we've seen in the last few years. And anyways, I'm going to move off of the tush push before it destroys my mind talking about it, because on one hand, I hate the play, and on the other hand, I hate the discourse about it. I just hate everything about the way the tush push is perceived. So we're just going to move off of it. And we're going to move to something way more fun than that stupid Eagles-Chiefs game, which is the Giants and the Cowboys. My goodness, did anyone have a freaking barn burner ready for this game? Russell Wilson going for over 450 yards and a couple touchdowns. Dak Prescott played an overall just really, really good game. Through 2 weeks, Dak has looked really good. Sort of rough interception, but outside of that, man, Dak has just looked really good, especially now that they have George Pickens there, complimenting CeeDee Lamb. It's just been great. But putting aside the Dak thing, because I think we all know, aside from dumb fans who don't really understand football, we know Dak's a good quarterback. But focusing on Russ, holy crap, he was really good. And it was one of those things where I'd heard about it, and then I went back and watched the game for myself, watched a little bit of the tape, and yes, sometimes the Cowboys coverages were just really funny and dumb, and we left guys wide open, but some of those throws were just so vintage Russ. It was like I was watching the Seahawks game. I started to get a little PTSD in my bones watching Russell Wilson. I'm like, whoa, hello, where'd you come from? That deep throw he had to Neighbors was just unbelievable. It was, in theory, should have been a game-winning throw, unless, the Cowboys have Brandon Aubrey. We'll talk about that later. But Malik Neighbors running down the middle, two guys on him, one spot that ball could have been, and it had to be right in his hands. Otherwise, Cowboys guy deflects it, whatever, uncatchable pick, any sort of variation of what could have happened there. But instead, Malik Neighbors running down, gets the ball, perfect throw. Dropped it in his hands. Throw so good, Malik Neighbors had his eyes covered, still caught the ball. And I'm like, whoa, where did we get this guy from? Of course, he did also throw a really, really dumb interception and have kind of a dumb fumble in overtime. But outside of that, the Russell Wilson regulation was just so unbelievably good. They were even calling some quarterback draw stuff for him. And, I think after last week, right, I think a lot of the discussion and, what I was even thinking was, we're going to see Jackson Dart in 3 weeks. We're going to see Jackson Dart come in. I think whenever they play the Saints, it's week 5 or week 6. And, we're just waiting it out, right? We're waiting it out for Jackson Dart. But my goodness, Russ goes for 500 yards. Looks like a really, really good quarterback. And in that game that the Cowboys played last week against Philly, we know the defense isn't just awful. right? Like after the weather delay, we saw a really, really competent Cowboys defense. So their defense isn't just ass. Like, no, Russell Wilson just played well. And their receivers were playing well. And whenever their offensive line wasn't punching people in the face, even that was working. So I think Russell Wilson has kind of saved his job for a while now. Now, don't get me wrong. If he goes back to Commanders Russ, or the Russ that we saw against the Commanders, and it's just, oh my goodness, they can't move the ball, then I think we'll see Jackson Dart pretty soon. But for now, something that seemed inevitable with Russ getting benched has now turned into wait. I saw an overreaction, by the way, great show, Overreaction Monday, Rich Eisen podcast. I saw an overreaction where it's like Russell will play the whole year, which I think the Giants organization would love. You can get Jackson Dart to sit the whole year. I don't think that's realistic, though. But I think he's at least bought his job until midseason. I think that's the way we'll see this play out. Because if they can get even 50% of that performance, I think the Giants could actually be a really fun team. We saw everyone kind of just unlock that game. We've seen potential with Wan'Dale Robinson for the last 2 years, and he's looked really, really good in that game. Of course, Malik Neighbors has been a beast as always. We saw their rookie running back Cam Scatterbo start to get involved in the running game, and so we started to see some holes open up for him. And it's like, okay, and he was doing great in the receiving game, and it was everything was sort of clicking. It was like this is the best version of the Giants offense I think fans were hoping for heading into the year. But for the game to have finished out the way it did was unfortunate for them. There's two large reasons for that. One being on the Giants side, their penalties. Holy crap, this team is undisciplined. If you are coming out of a game and saying, wow, the Cowboys did a better job with discipline than you did, then you have a severe problem. The Giants finishing with 14 penalties in this game, including 4 on their offensive tackle in the very first drive of the game, which leaded him to get benched. And he came up with a very new fun way to block a guy, which is to just slap him and punch him in the face. I'm sorry that I seeing the replay of that just makes me laugh, but they are so undisciplined, and I don't know necessarily where this came from. I knew the Giants weren't the greatest coach team and all that, but to have a straight Raiders Cowboys type of lack of discipline in your game is horrendous. And at the end, it is what cost the Giants this game. Had they just not taken so many penalties, they could have scored so many times more. And early before the explosion at the end of the fourth quarter, a lot of the drives were just getting stalled out because of penalties, and a lot of the Cowboys drives were continuing because of really, really dumb personal fouls, roughing the passer, defensive holdings that just didn't need to be done. And it's a team that lacked discipline, and it's a team whose coach has lost the locker room, in my opinion. That is a sign of when your coach is not disciplined enough, is lost control. Whenever the team starts just putting up penalties left and right. So I guess my hot take coming out of the game is I think Dayball is going to be done pretty soon, which I don't even know how hot of a take that is. But whenever I just see 14 penalties, all I can see is a malpractice in coaching. Just simple slights and mental errors over and over again. It happens a few times a game. It's understandable. But to just see that level of mistakes and incompetency is a sign of a very, very poorly coached team. So it's something where I think Dayball will see himself out pretty soon. Moving on to the Cowboys side of it, really, really good win for them. This is a win they needed desperately if they want to have any chance this season. And it was, after the unfortunate, all the CeeDee Lamb drops and all that in the Eagles game, it was a win they needed, especially, I think, morally. I definitely could have seen a world where Cowboys coming off of that big of a letdown come in and just get smacked by the Giants, but that offense looks really good. Dak Prescott can move the ball. They really could use a pass rusher like Michael Parsons. But, outside of that, their defense is a little rough. But, no shocker there. You lose one of the best defense players in the league. There's going to be some adjustment time. And the Cowboys could kind of run the ball, which was weird. Javonte Williams was, kind of moving, which, I think everyone heading into the year, no one had that on their bingo card, that Javonte Williams might be a competent running back. And my goodness, Brandon Aubrey. Didn't know kickers would get shouted out in back-to-back podcasts, would you? First time was about Jake Moody getting dunked on. This time is about Brandon Aubrey. And the sheer advantage that Brandon Aubrey gives you in a game. Like, the fact that you can send him out from anything below 65 yards and you're just confident. It's like, he'll drill it. And 64-yarder, you need to have it or the game's lost. And he, no questions asked, just perfect. Down the middle, could have gone in from 70+. And the fact that I don't think anyone was that surprised. Like, they cut to Jerry because they always do. I don't think Jerry had one of those old men, like, it's Brandon Aubrey. It is the closest thing to a sure thing that we've had since Justin Tucker. And he genuinely looks better than Tucker did, which is unbelievable. And he's so good. He's genuinely so good. Best tweet of the week, the Cowboys really needed to make moves when they signed Jadeveon Clowney because they need to capitalize on Brandon Aubrey's prime. True. No notes. Very, very true. And as a football fan, I genuinely cannot understand just how good Brandon Aubrey is. There is such an insane gap between Brandon Aubrey and every other kicker in the league. Like, he's perfect. He hits every kick. He has insane leg, insane range. And for the Cowboys, me talking about kicker, I think you can sort of sit to yourself and be like, well, it's a kicker, who cares? But think of it from the perspective of the new touchback in the NFL is the 35-yard line. Brandon Aubrey, we now know, can probably kick from the 50. So if the Cowboys go out there, Dak Prescott hits a little 20-yarder to CeeDee Lamb, and even they lose 5 yards in the next few plays, they can send out Aubrey from the 50-yard line, and he'll probably drill it. Because that would be for him a 67-yarder? Yeah, he's probably got that. Or if maybe for the 45-yard line, if we're being conservative for Brandon Aubrey. Like, it is such an unbelievable advantage they have. And it is kind of unfortunate that he's on the Cowboys because that advantage is not going to be used that often. But he's so good. Larger thing to note here, the Giants might just be screwed, which is an unfortunate reality because heading into the year, I thought this was a Giants team that actually had some promise. There were always the questions at quarterback, but it was a team that had just an unbelievable defensive line on paper. Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, one of those two coming in at edge, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and it was a team where you look down on paper, it's like, I'm getting shades of 2019 49ers of just how good that defensive line is. But to see this defense just falter just again and again in that Dallas game and kind of just give up plays in the Commanders game too, and it's unfortunate because this is a team that has potential. It really does. Like, when you look at that front four, and I think if you give it, like, once we get to next year, it'll be like, holy crap, it's really good, especially when Abdul Carter is firing in all cylinders. Like, it has that this team could be something good. But the wasting of it at the coaching level, the lack of running backs, the stupid lack of discipline, is just going to hold them back. It's going to hold them back another year. And for Giants fans, it's another year of them just, being whatever. Because they're 0-2 now, and they get a date with a pissed-off Kansas City who genuinely can not afford to go 0-3. If Kansas City goes 0-3, they're kind of just done for the playoffs. So, because the Chargers are probably going to be 3-0 with a half game on them, so they're just done for the division. So they get pissed off Kansas City. And, if the Giants win that game, fairs. I'll shut my ass up, and they can go to 1-2. I'll be really happy to see it. But do I think that's going to happen? No. And I think we're going to see the Giants here just 0-3. And it's another year of like, okay, well, we'll see what it is next year. Hopefully Jackson Dart is it next year. Unfortunate. Okay, moving on of that awesome game. We're going to go to another pretty fun game, actually. The Bucs and the Texans on Monday Night Football. Watching this game yesterday was, anytime that Baker Mayfield is on my television screen, or in this case now my monitor screen, I will make sure to watch it because, my God, the Bake Show is so much fun. I love watching me some Bake Show. I remember last podcast I went on a little rant just about how much I love the Bake Show because he's just so fun. First two drives, goes out there, slings it. Should have had an interception on that first drive, by the way. Completely dropped by the linebacker. But he doesn't care. It's the Bake Show. He's going to keep slinging it. And then, just the whole offense stops moving for a really, really long time. And it's the last drive, 2 minutes. Texans have all of the momentum in the world. Special teams just completely goofs it for the Bucs. And Bake Show, baby. 4th and 10, just run for 15 yards. Why not? on the bad ankle. And then, I probably injured my ankle, but then CJ Gardner-Johnson's talking shit at me, so I'm going to get up and start barking at him, even though I'm injured. Like, oh, I love him. I love Bake Show so much. The whole Bucks team, kind of shaky. They were, like, I think 2.5-point dogs heading into this game, which I didn't necessarily understand. But they allowed the Texans to score on their first drive, which was really concerning because the Texans they don't score the ball very much right now. But their whole team starts clicking again. They actually do a really, really good job on the run. Outside of Nick Chubb busting a 20-yard run on him, like their Bucks run defense is just so good, and they completely shut down anything the Texans were doing. And they always found a way to get big pressure on third down and just kill drives. So they were just sort of hanging around in the game, slowly, just waiting and waiting and waiting. But that Bucks special teams really does there's some concern there. If you didn't watch the game, the Bucks punter, he gets blocked and it leads to points for the Texans, and they're able to come up with another stop, and the Texans run it in, and they have all the momentum in the world, but the Bucks find a way to do it again. Just like the Falcons game from last week, where, it should have been wraps, but then they're able to march their way down the field and score with basically no time left. And, for Baker and the Bucks, this is nothing new. This is what the Bucks do. They have a very, very good quarterback, an extremely fun team, an unbelievable run defense. Nothing about this game was, different than what I was expecting from the Bucks. But for the Texans, man, and I hate to focus on the negative on what was a fun game, but for the Texans, like, when is this offense going to start clicking? It's really, really frustrating because the first year of C.J. Stroud, and it was, nothing but beautiful passes left and right. C.J. Stroud at the time was the best rookie quarterback ever. And, the Texans look like, okay, we now have a new team in there where it's going to be the Chiefs forever. It's going to be the Ravens forever. It's going to be the Bills forever. And now we have the Texans, right, with their quarterback. And last year, C.J. Stroud overall had a really big sophomore slump, and they had all these receiver injuries. So, give them benefit of the doubt. We'll see what they do next year. And to start this year, their offense just can't move. It can't move. It's really, really frustrating. Like, the first drive of the game, it's like, okay, finally, maybe they play the Rams, and the Rams have a very, very good defense and an unbelievable pass rush. And it's like, okay, now they're going to start clicking. And then they just stop moving for the rest of the game. And it's so frustrating because anytime this team gets just a little bit of momentum, there's just some stupid sack. It's like every third down and 5, I was watching this game with a friend. And I'm like, just wait for C.J. Stroud to get sacked. It's inevitable. And guess what? Todd Bowles calls up a beautiful blitz every time, and C.J. Stroud just gets thrown to the ground. And every time. I don't know what the stat is on him getting, quarterback hits or whatever, but he has to be up there with Joe Burrow, which we'll get to Burrow in a second. And I don't know when the Texans are going to be back. When is Stroud going to start lighting up defense again? When are we going to see Nico Collins going for over 100 yards a game again? Where's the gas? Because we know how good this defense is. DeMeco Ryans is a top 5 defensive play caller in this league. They have Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, a very, very insanely, stupidly good edge rushing duo. Like, there is something here. There is a very, very good defense here. And to see this talented of a team go 0-2 in 2 games where they really easily could have won, had it not been for mental mistakes and had it not been for their offense just stalling, to see them go 0-2 is kind of crazy. Like, this is by far, respect to the Colts, but this is by far the most talented team in the division. And they're 0-2. They're 2 games back. It's crazy. And, I'm like, oh, in my head, I'm just thinking, yeah, whatever. They'll come back. We know they will. Yada, yada. CJ Stroud's a really good quarterback. But, like, at some point, it should have happened by now. We should have started seeing the fireworks start to go off. But it hasn't. So, I don't, I know how good of a quarterback he is. But to just see him struggle for this long is really odd. Maybe it's an offensive line thing, but then why would you trade Laramie Tunsil in the offseason? But it's just, I think their problems were larger than just Bobby Slowick last year. Like, Bobby Slowick was not a good OC for them, don't get me wrong. But they had so many problems on that offense last year, and then for them to just focus on, okay, just the play caller, toss him out, and be like, okay, it'll all be fine now, was stupid. It was really, really stupid. that there's so many fundamental problems with the Texans offense. And as of right now, I don't see a way for them to resolve all of them. So I know it's through week 2, but I think this is a Texas team that we'll see. Their defense will win them one playoff game, as always. I think they'll somehow bounce back and win the division. But they'll win one playoff game, and then it's going to be back to, just getting bounced by a good team. That's all I see from this team. And, at this point, they're 0-2. They have I think historically, it's an 18% chance to make the playoffs, or even less. So, there's a good chance they don't make it now. And it's a shame for a team and a defense that is that talented. Moving on, we now have the Jaguars and the Bengals. And look, this was a crazy game with a comeback led by Jake Browning. But the main thing to take away from this game is Joe Burrow getting injured. He's going to be out north of 3 months with a very, very severe turf toe injury, and he'll probably, best case scenario, is back mid-December. For those of you who don't know, I had to explain this to a couple of my friends. A turf toe injury, it's like it's on your big foot, and it's just very, very painful. Like, to the point where I don't understand how Joe Burrow walked off the field. Like, I definitely thought he would have needed a car, especially grade 3. And it's one of those things where, you can't plant, you can't run, you can't move. So grade 3, you kind of just have to get a surgery, especially if you want to play quarterback in this league. And now it's a question of, can Jake Browning hold down the fort? Realistically, the Bengals are 2-0. So just looking at their schedule, they have to find a way to win 7 games against the following teams: the Vikings, the Broncos, the Lions, the Packers, the Steelers, the Jets, the Bears, the Steelers, the Patriots, the Ravens, and the Bills. And then by that point, it's December 14th. We'll see if Joe Burrow's back. Now, are there some winnable games in there? Yes, like they're playing the Vikings and Carson Wentz next week. They're playing the Broncos, who are not looking the greatest right now. They're playing the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, who just came off a really, really awful game. And they're playing the Jets, who just kind of suck. Like, those are, in theory, 4 very winnable games. But is it 4 games that you're winning with your backup quarterback? Probably not. Like, they're going to drop a few of them. Why? Because backup quarterbacks are just going to do what backup quarterbacks do. They'll sometimes just lose you a game, which is unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. And it is frustrating for a team who, like, heading into the year, we knew the problems that they had on defense. And they're honestly better than we thought they would be. Like, yes, they allowed 27 points to the Jaguars, but we saw they played a really, really solid game week 1 against the Browns, that defensive side. And Shamar Stewart looked good. He got injured too. But Shamar Stewart has far surpassed my expectations, and that whole defense has, really. But they're not winning those games now without Joe Burrow. Jake Browning had 3 interceptions. It's just in the second half that he played. It was rough. And, of course, they found a way to win, but they just found a way to win against the Jaguars, who I personally don't think are a very good team. And now they have to find out a way to right around 7 wins, especially in that you're not winning the division. You're praying to get a wild card spot. Okay, and Jake Browning is honestly, like, as far as backups go, he's pretty solid. Outside of those couple of interceptions he had last week, like, we've seen the Bengals actually go right around 500 with Jake Browning in at quarterback. But with the deficiencies that this team has, it's unfortunate to say, but they're probably just cooked, which like, it sucks. It really does, because anytime that one of the premier quarterbacks in this league gets injured, it's horrible. It is a loss of great football. It's a loss of amazing highlights, and truly, really classic games that we are probably going to lose out on. Like, Bengals Ravens is going to come up on this docket at some point, and we're going to have Jake Browning in it instead of Joe Burrow, which is really, really crappy. So while they probably they could find a way with Jake Browning to probably win 7 games and maybe sneak in, and Joe Burrow comes in, recovery goes perfectly planned, and he's able to step in. Who knows? We'll see from there. I would lean towards no, and I would lean towards the Bengals season being over now, which sucks. And it's one of those things where I just don't see it getting better. Like, yeah, maybe next year you go upgrade the offensive line a bit, but Burrow still has a very fundamental problem of holding the ball and taking a deep shot, which, it makes him great. It makes him get all those unbelievable stats, but it also makes him take a lot of hits. And those hits are going to be inevitable, even with the offensive line being better or improved. Like, they need to put him behind, like, the Eagles' offensive line to let him really succeed at his best, which the Bengals are nowhere close. moving on. We've got the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions, and this was what we call an absolute gobsmacking in the business. My goodness. 52-21. Jared Goff goes for 5 touchdowns. Amon-Ra goes for 3. The Bears, the whole game, just looked like they were in a whole different weight class. It was rough. It was like a little brother getting absolutely freaking bullied by his older brother. I don't know how else to explain it. You could tell the Lions had a little bit of animosity heading into this game, just a touch, as they go for it on fourth down. And fourth down, even up 20-something points late into the fourth quarter just to add some more points. Really rub it in to their supposed traitor, Ben Johnson, who I don't know if he's a traitor. Like he just took a promotion. He did what any coach in the league would do, which was to go to a higher position and be a head coach of a team. But clearly, maybe not how the Lions see it. For the Lions, it was a return to form game. It was a game where it's like, yeah, no, you're not done with us just yet. You gotta get ready to go to work. Yeah, the league is not done with us yet. Which big credit to the Green Bay Packers now, because this isn't just a case of the Lions OC and DC being gone. No, they're just really that good, and they smacked the crap out of a good Lions team. And man, for the Bears, I don't know why anyone's surprised at this point. That's the only way I can phrase it. I don't know why anyone's surprised, because the Bears on paper have been the offseason champs for 3 years straight. They have always looked really, really good in theory. They have, they always look like, oh, their defense is going to look good this year. Oh, Caleb Williams taking the next step. Like, no, not yet. And I think that's not to say that those things will never happen. It is a thing to say that the Bears this year are definitely not making the playoffs. There is clearly too many things that need to be worked out. There's Caleb still has a lot to learn, and it is something where I have faith that he will become like a good quarterback. I have faith that he can eventually be the Caleb Williams we saw at USC, and moved over to the NFL, and he could be a really, really good quarterback. But it's something that's probably not in the cards this year. Maybe we'll start to see flashes of it towards the end, but he needs time. He needs time to learn that system, because it's a very complicated system. This whole team needs a year to gel. They need to get their running game going, because it's still not great. And their defense was a unit that, in theory, was supposed to carry them. And they're allowing 52 points. And, Jalen Johnson, we saw a report, he's probably out for the rest of the year. Or indefinitely. I don't know. Pick your choice of the two. They're both bad. And he's their best player on probably their whole team. And he's just out for the year. So, for the Bears, it sucks. I'm in Chicago. I'm going to Northwestern. I'd love for the Bears to be amazing, so I can go to all of their games and watch just a really, really fun offense. But I can't. They're gonna suck again this year, and who knows? Maybe next year they'll make some good moves in the offseason. They can get offseason champs, and then they can actually be really champs. But no, I don't have too much to say on the Lions end of it. I think that piece of just that they're back. They're not done. There's still just way too much talent on that team. That offensive line, even though they suffered loss in the offseason, Frank Ragnow and Zeitler, they're still really, really good. Penei Sewell's still great. Amon-Ra still great. Jared Goff, when he's clicking, my goodness, no one can get hotter than Jared Goff. Sometimes he just looks so in the zone, it doesn't look like he can make a single mistake. That defense can still be really good. It's just, they're back. They're still the Lions. So, which means we're going to get a lot more really, really fun football with them, which I'm happy about. I love to see. So, overall, big takeaway from the game: Lions way back up, the Bears way back down. That's kind of it. Now, heading on to the Broncos and the Colts. Indiana Jones, I think it's official to say, is here. Daniel Jones goes for nearly 300 yards, a couple touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor goes for over 150 yards. Both of them, mind you, on a very, very good Broncos defense. A Broncos defense that was absolutely stifling last week against the Titans, which in all fairness, it's the Titans. But still, an objectively good Broncos defense. And I think we can finally say that, or not finally, it's been 1 week. NFL is an exhausting thing. But after 2 weeks, we can say, Daniel Jones is here, which is crazy to say. It is awesome to say. It's giving me the biggest smile on my face. His career hopefully has hit a resurgence, and It shows the importance of coaching. It shows the importance of time, growth, sitting behind other good quarterbacks, learning, being with good coaches, and just getting better over time behind the scenes. And he looks good. Like, if you watch the games, he's not just dumping the ball off over and over again, and he's not, getting lucky, which is dropped interceptions. Like, no, he's just playing good football. He's playing like a great quarterback. I think he's like the number 2 fantasy quarterback right now, or something absurd like that. Like, he's just playing really, really good football. And I was watching that game back. I'm like, wow, really? It looks so different from the Daniel Jones we saw in New York. And, maybe if you want to attribute that to him being with Kevin O'Connell, I think that's fair, during the end part of last year. Or maybe he's with Shane Steichen, who's also a very, very good play caller and had got a lot of Jalen Hurts when he was there with him. And finally, he has a quarterback who's not, Anthony Richardson, the biggest boomer bust from play to play in probably, since in the last, of any quarterback in the last, 20 years. He has stable quarterback play, and it looks good. And not only that, it's opened up Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor has been awesome. Jonathan Taylor has been the best running back in the entire league in the last 2 years because defenses can't just put 9 in the box against him anymore. He looks so good. This whole Colts team just looks amazing. And let's talk about the ending real quick. Colts down by 2 points. Send out the kicker for a 60-yard game winner after a rough Bo Nix pick. Other than that, Bo Nix played a really good game. But send him out for the 60-yarder. Kick is up, shanks it, but laundry. And we have a 15-yard penalty on the Broncos for leverage, which I think most football fans, including myself, did not know what the hell they were talking about when they said leverage. But apparently, if you look, one of the guys pulled up and tried to jump up off of the offensive line, off of the lineman. So they get a chance at it, or a new chance at it from the 45, and Schrader drills it. Goes 5 for 5 for him on the day. And that leverage play was kind of crazy. I don't know. I don't know how you call that there. Yes, it did happen. I don't think anyone is going to deny the fact that there was leverage on that play. But, I haven't seen it called in years. And not only that, it wasn't a blocked kick. If it was a blocked kick, fair. Then I think everyone shuts up about it. But to call it on a kick where he just shanked it, no way around it, it wasn't a block, just a shank, is kind of crazy to me. And it's a very negative note on what was an extremely positive game for Indy. But I don't know how you call it. That's crazy to me. It's one of those, it's probably the case of what are we doing of any of the games when it comes to the refs so far? Because leverage? Really? That's the thing we're going to pull to end the game? Frustrating. Frustrating way to end it. And that Schrader got bailed on that 60-yarder because of leverage. It's crazy. Sorry, that's just a rant on that. For the Broncos, it pushes them to 1-1. And what has been a shaky start for the first 2 weeks. They were a very, very trendy pick to win the division, a trendy pick to win, potentially even be a Super Bowl contender. And they struggle with the Titans week 1, and then now they lose to the Colts. They lose to Daniel Jones, which maybe isn't an insulting thing to say anymore. But they lose. They lost to. They're 1-1. They're now a full game back from the division from the Chargers, and they're just not looking right. Is Bo Nix? I think he's a good quarterback. I think that first week was just a fluke. He'll get it back. We know he's talented from last year, but I just think maybe this Broncos team isn't just there yet. Which in fairness to them, I don't know if they should have been given those expectations. They're still an extremely young team. They're still a really, really rough receiving core. Their quarterback's still just entering his second year. So I think pumping the brakes for the Broncos for a bit, this isn't a bad case for them to be 1-1. They can manage some expectations, and just try and fight for a wildcard spot. I thought they would be heading into the year. Now, heading to our last game we're going to be talking about, Sunday Night Football, Falcons and the Vikings. And this is a game I was actually really hyped for. It was J.J. McCarthy versus Penix. McCarthy had been coming off that awesome fourth quarter against the Bears where he just rallied back and got him the win. And for the Falcons, they just come off that really, really rough loss against the Bucs where Younghoe Koo shanks the field goal. And credit to them, Younghoe Koo shanks the kick, they're done with him. There is no, we'll give him a second chance. No, if you shank a game-winning kick in the NFL that's, shorter than 50 yards, you got to make a change. And they do. They get Parker Romo kicker from the UFL. He goes perfect on the day. Falcons' red zone offense is rough. It's really, really bad. Like, the fact that they genuinely could not move the ball in the red zone was so infuriating. Give credit, of course, to Brian Flores and his amazing defense and that amazing defensive scheme, because it worked at times, and they really did dial up some amazing pressures at big points in the red zone that stuffed the Falcons over and over again. And, of course, Tyler Algier is the one person to score a touchdown in this game. So stupid. I don't understand how Tyler Algier gets every touchdown when they have Bijan Robinson there. That's a fantasy thing. That's a different thing. But for the Falcons, they go to 1-1. Good win for them. But the focus of this game is definitely the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy. Now, McCarthy has a high ankle sprain, so he'll be out for this week at the very least, possibly next. And as far as just winning next week, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because J.J. McCarthy looks so rough. I mean, he's a rookie. Technically, he missed his whole year last year, and he had to come back off of I think it was a meniscus or ACL, one of the two, and he's looking like a rookie quarterback. He's making stupid mistakes. He's throwing dumb interceptions. He's missing open guys, and you could tell the whole team is really frustrated. And for him, it's just a rough spot to be in. That is a team that won 14 games last year. They're ready. They're ready to go now. Their whole team is ready. Justin Jefferson's ready. He's been waiting for a contender and waiting to be a contender and have a good quarterback. And it's rough for McCarthy because he's just, he needs his time. He needs his time like every other young quarterback. And you could tell the Falcons are drawing up some really, really good pressure on the play in this game. Great game from Raheem Morris, by the way. Falcons head coach / defensive play caller. And I also think they have Jeff Ulbrich too. Not necessarily sure which one's the defensive play caller, but that's besides the point. But him and Ulbrich is an amazing defensive tandem that I could nerd out about. But they were calling up some really, really nice pressures against McCarthy, and he took so many hits this game. And it wasn't even a surprise that he got injured because of just how many hits he was taking. That Vikings offensive line was not ready for that Falcons pass rush, which is really sneaky good. They gave up so much draft capital this last draft to get Jalen Walker and to get James Pierce Jr., and you can tell the impact they've had on this defensive line. That whole defense is starting to fly, and it's starting to look so good, which is scary for every team in the NFC South. Good news for the Bucs is that they got that win on them week 1, so they have a good bit of a cushion. But J.J. McCarthy, that injury for him is just rough. It's rough because he needs the games to get better, right? He needs to practice. He needs to get those reps in. Because even in college, he wasn't just asked to do a whole lot. He wasn't asked. His main job was to make sure they didn't lose the game. His main job was to be a clutch quarterback at situational plays and go win for them there. And for the most part, just don't mess with the amazing run game and don't mess with that defense. And it was a job that, in theory would have worked. It was just be with the Vikings and kind of do the same thing. There's so much talent around you. But, he's going to make mistakes. He's going to make rookie mistakes. And he needs those reps. But it sucks. Now he's coming off a high ankle sprain whenever he comes back, which is an injury that doesn't ever really heal right during the year. You kind of need the offseason because it's hard to come back from the high ankle sprain and feel 100%. So it's an unfortunate injury, and for J.J. McCarthy himself, I think this is it's kind of crappy, and he's getting a lot of flack right now, which is unfortunate for him because I'm struggling for another way to just say that the Vikings are ready and he's not. And moving on, we've got our final game. It's been a long pod. I think I was able to hold off. Last time, I was so excited about my Niners that I had to talk about them second thing, after the Bills and Ravens game. But, the 49ers and the Saints, the Niners win 26-21. Mac Jones goes out there, plays a really solid game, goes for 3 touchdowns, no picks. Does have one bad fumble, though. And the Saints and Spencer Rattler actually look pretty solid. Spencer Rattler, colored me surprised. I thought he just sucked. But, no, he actually looks pretty good. Spencer Rattler goes for... goes for 2 touchdowns, I think. I want to say 2. Makes some great plays. He had so many clutch scrambles in this game, which is really weird. As a Niners fan, I was just slamming. I was punching my leg over and over again every time he would get one of those stupid scrambles on us. Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa close out the game for us. Each of them get a sack to end the drive, and it's a game where it's impressive that the Niners win because they're, even though, yes, it's just the Saints, but they were heading on the road without their starting quarterback, without George Kittle, without, of course, Brandon Ayuk, with Jawan Jennings being banged up all week. And they head to the game, and guess what? Kyle Juszczyk is out. And it's just more and more injuries for this team, and they've still found a way to win. And I like Mac Jones looked pretty goddamn good. And he was slinging it. Like that throw he had to Jawan Jennings, it was 14, I think at the time it was 14 to 19. Yeah, 14 to 19. And Jawan Jennings, just a big A, as the QB school would call it. Big A, anticipation. And he hits Jawan right as he breaks out. And it's such a perfect throw. He's able to run in and just keep getting to the edge and scores a touchdown. Like, Mac Jones is going to find himself in the Sam Darnold role pretty soon, which is fun. It's great for him. Another potentially really fun renaissance. Because I think that he's going to get I think he's going to get the Cardinals game next week. I think they're going to be, especially because of how solid he looked, I think they're not going to rush Brock back. So he's going to get the Cardinals game. And if he has a similar game to this one, then he can very much find himself next year with like a 1 year, maybe $14-15 million contract. Oh, no, I forgot. Sorry. He's under contract with the Niners next year. Okay, so whenever he's a free agent, he can find himself in that role of being someone else's starting quarterback and getting a shot. And, it's good for him. It's great. And it just adds to the number of quarterbacks that Shanahan has now gotten employed. And I've seen some stupid stuff where it's like, well, looked at Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, and people talking about that. Like, no, that's dumb. Brock, if you watch that Seahawks game, was getting killed all game, evading pressures, found a way. This game, Mac Jones did not have to deal with that stuff. Not discrediting Mac Jones in any way, but the talk that this has anything to do with, or like Brock Purdy being a system quarterback, is dumb. And it is clear that anyone who has that take did not watch the 2 games. Crystal clear. Like, I hate to call it one specific person, but like when Nick Wright had that take, I was like, oh my God, come on, man. Like, I know you were watching the other games. That's fine. No one wanted to watch Mac Jones versus Spencer Rattler. Just don't come on the air and start talking about that, because come on. We can do better than that. And I think that's everything. Thank you all. It's been a long podcast. I think I can see on the top left corner, we have been recording for just about an hour now. There'll be some trimming, so it won't be an hour long. But it was a really, really fun week of football. I didn't think I'd have so many games to go through. But, as I was starting to prep for the show, I'm like, wow, holy, I have to talk about all these games. Thursday night, we get Dolphins-Bills. So, if you have a busy Thursday night, don't worry. There will be nothing to watch there. I think that game might be over by halftime. Maybe famous last words. Who knows? Maybe Tua proves me wrong. The way NFL has been going, it's nothing but fun slates after fun slates. So I'm looking forward to next Sunday. My Niners play the Cardinals, so we'll see how that goes. But thank you all for listening. I hope to be back with you probably next week to react to the games. Maybe something smaller in the middle of the week, like a prediction show, or if something really crazy does happen in the Dolphins-Bills game, I'll be up out here. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a phenomenal day.